Councilors, please take their seats. All right. I would like to call the public session into order. We do have some speakers this evening. I'm going to call you up by your name. Give us your name, your address, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or under. The first speaker is Kathleen Harris. Ms. Harris. You're up, ma'am.
Sorry, my hearing isn't the best. I'm Kathleen Harris, a resident of 90 West 8th Street in Oswego, and my alderman is Fran Enright. I have an issue here that we must address. It's a quality of life issue. It's well, I don't want to waste that 5 minutes just thinking. But it's become almost very unpleasant to have to live with all the cars lined up on the side of the street, on our side. And it never at any time has the sweeper been able to clean that side off. Now that's the way the situation has been since it began. But also, a family that lives on the street is in the landscape business. And they line up 5 trucks and their trailers all along the street, take up most of the time, besides a couple more cars that are used for their work too. Anyway, the woman next to me almost died with stents in her legs a couple of years ago, and she was very upset about the street never been cleaned. And 4 times she called the DPW to clean it. The man couldn't clean it because the cars were there. She asked me to bother Mike Smith. Well, I said, no, I don't want to get Mike mad because he's overworked now with potholes and infrastructure. And if I say anything to him about, how about cleaning up the dirt on the side of the street, I wouldn't blame him if he got mad. See, and the fellows are working for are underpaid, overworked, and tired. So that's been the situation. One day, I looked out, the whole street was clear, and I thought, gee, maybe I'll make Louise feel better. I'll call Mike. So I did. And Mike sent the sweeper over. But within that hour, the whole street was plugged again. So he said, I can't do anything. I said, I know it. So I said, but don't go. I said to him, I'll see if I can get the people to move their cars so that you can do it. It'll only take a matter of a few minutes, for run that thing up and down. So I went to one door. I climbed up to one door. The man came out. He says, ready to do it. Now, I'm not supposed to mention anybody's name, but you can't help it. How can I tell the story? So A.J. Larkin came along, and I was happy. I said, A.J., I said, will you get the guys to get their cars out of the way so that the sweeper here can do it? He said, I'm going to have my lunch. And I says, well, I asked Mike to send the man over, and he did. So I said, it'll only take a few minutes, A.J. He says, well, I'm going to have my lunch. Because I said, well, I'm going to tell Mike what you said. And I did. I put it on Mike's tape. Then I called Fran Enright, and I put it on his tape. So I gave them enough of material so they know the whole thing. So I said, well, here I've been putting up with, I couldn't even get into my house. A girl had brought me home a week ago from St. Mary's, and she wanted to come in and have a talk with me because we hadn't seen each other all summer. And she couldn't find a place to park her car because everything was all filled up. Now, it seems to me that we put up with this long enough, and I want the city to have these landscape people find a parking place of their own off of our street. They've had a free parking space long enough. And I said, we should not have to put up with this anymore. And that, the fact that he talked to me the way he did, it was just like saying it to Mike, or saying it to Common Council, or saying it to everybody, what he said to me. No gratitude, no appreciation for the fact that they had a free parking space all this time. And I think it's time they got their equipment off the street and into their own parking place and paid for it if they have to. And that's what I'm here to ask you fellas to not put us through anymore. And then they acted like I committed something terrible, you know. Oh, Jesus. And you know what? It upset me so much that I fell down in the yard. I bent over too long changing a flower from one pot to another. That's all I was doing. And I fell in the yard and couldn't move my legs. And the lucky thing, I had this lifeline thing on. So I pressed that, and I could hear them saying, "Are you all right, Kathleen? Are you all right?" And I couldn't even answer them. So they sent me to the hospital, and I was there for a couple of days. And my blood pressure was over 200. They wouldn't let me out till they made sure they had me back to normal. But you know what? I'll probably be going to the hospital again, because I'll probably fall down again, because I'm going to be upset about this until you fellas get those trucks out of our yard so that we have room for ourselves. My son came from Skinny Atlas to take me over town to pay my bills. He had to park way down near Cayuga Street because he couldn't get up any closer to me. So I had to walk down there, and I shouldn't have to, because the only place I could walk right now is with that chariot there. If I had to come here tonight without that, I wouldn't make it. But with that thing, I did make it. And I can get back home with that thing, too. So,
Thank you, ma'am. In fact, I'll talk with...
I don't want you guys to think this over and decide around Christmas time to do something about getting them to move their trucks because we're going to have snow, and it's going to be even worse. So what I want to know is, are you guys going to do anything about it or not?
We can talk about it. With two issues.
Huh?
You want to ban parking on the street, or do you want to have it clean?
Now, that's a quality of life that is affecting all of us who live there, and we shouldn't have to put up with it any longer. And
We'll talk about it in the council.
okay. Well, thank you very much for listening, and let's do something, okay?
Thank you, Mrs. Harris. Thank you very much. The next speaker, Greg. Greg, yes? Is Greg here? It's a tough act to follow, Greg.
I'll try to be brief. I just wanted to come before the council and the mayor and the department heads tonight. Last week marked the one-year anniversary of my privilege of being the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce here in Oswego and Fulton. And I want to thank everybody in this room and the department heads for what I think has been a very effective and eventful year, and I think that we've really made some great progress. At the October 8th Farmers Market marked the end of the season of the market for Oswego, and this was my first year, obviously, from an administrative side of the market, and I've always enjoyed the market from the consumer side, but it's a little different vantage point perspective when you're behind the scenes, and I really thought that the market ran very smoothly, and we would like to thank Commissioner Smith and the DPW, Chief Decare and the Police Department, specifically Lieutenant Michtel and Officer Delia, that were there every Thursday night to help us and to manage the market. And what I saw this year with some of the events and the themes that we were able to bring to the community, I really thought, you know, as Harrison speaks of the quality of life, the farmers market really helped to heighten that quality of life delivery that the farmers market was able to present this year. Again, I want to thank the city for the great support that they've allowed us through this year and the events that have been put on, not only by the Chamber, but that the Chamber supported through some great efforts in collaboration with Create Studios and Just Push Play Productions for the Independence Celebration, the Oktoberfest, and I'm sorry, not the Oktoberfest, but the Pumpkin Fest, which was preceded by the Oktoberfest, and also the Summer Concert Series. And lastly, I just want to thank the City of Oswego for their continued support of the Chamber of Commerce, not only this year and through 2016, that you've continued to support us financially through some of the events that we're doing. So I'm here before you to thank you for everything that you've done for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. The next speaker is Sue Matthews.
Thank you. I'm Sue Matthews. I live in Scribe, but I own property in the city and do most of my business here. The past week, I've heard two counselors say, we have to make these landlords pay their back taxes. Now, I have been privy to you guys writing one law after another that you can't enforce. Right now, there is a law, if you don't pay your taxes, they foreclose on your property, and the city gets it. Okay? That's a pretty good deterrent. There's only two reasons for not paying your taxes. Either you can't afford to pay your taxes, or you're not paying them in protest. I don't know anybody that doesn't pay their taxes in protest, because it's too expensive to not pay your taxes in protest. Because there's fines and there's interest. I think that the only thing you can, the biggest problem is people can't afford to pay their taxes because the taxes have gone really high. There's a lot of people in this town that have worked hard all their lives to buy their property and try to keep it up, and they can't keep it up. It's for some of them, it's a choice of, do I pay my taxes or do I buy my prescriptions this month? You know, do I pay my taxes or does my grandchild get new shoes? And it's, the way the taxes have gone up is crazy. And people have budgeted their lives and planned on retirement. We have 3 unions in this town that lost half their pension to Bernie Madoff. These guys planned on retiring, but they can't pay their taxes. It's a struggle. It's on the middle class, it's on the poor, is where it's having the most effect. And yet, some of the people in town that have the most money continually ignore our laws, like Walmart, who can't seem to plow their sidewalk. And I've been harping on you guys for 2 years about this since you redid the whole East Side corridor. If the store is open, the sidewalks need to be clear. It's that simple. If they aren't cleared, you either need to fine them or you need to plow them and add the cost of plowing to their taxes. But there's other places that need, other things that need to be addressed that aren't being addressed. And it seems like every time we come up with a new law, it impacts the poorest the most. Now, the people that are trying to walk to the store to get food are walking down the middle of the state highway in blizzards because they can't walk on the sidewalk. It's been 2 years. You could hire somebody, you could create a full-time job with somebody just to keep those walks clear and charge it back on their taxes. But they need to be clear. People need to be able to get to the store to buy their food. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other people who would like to make any comments this evening?
Yes.
Mr. Becker.
Since we're now entering the last week of the election, I couldn't resist. I'd just like to remind the voters of the possibility of the candidates that are coming up, that the past administrations, and I'm going to have to mention names, Mayor Hamill, Dick Atkins, and his bunch, and what they did to this city in their administration with buying the High Dam, refurbishing it for $17 million, somewhere around in there, and then only getting $1.5 million back once in a while from that company Brookfield. Great investment. Not bad for a college administrator. Then we go to the steam station and hire this clown attorney out of Washington, D.C. for something like $250 an hour. And the steam station loses $12 million in taxes to $962,000? Great stuff. We've done a great job. That lawyer went up to Albany and just took control of them. We don't have an energy policy here anyway. It doesn't make any difference. Now, then I'll go to Randy, my favorite mayor, Randy. He sells the Hamilton homes just to get back $262,000 that they lent him. And it seems like to me, a friend of mine, and I know everybody's heard all this before, and I'm going to just remind them because Election Day is Tuesday. A friend of mine told me that they ought to get $40,000 per unit over there at Hamilton Homes. This is a Syracuse price, so I got a city price. It was $20,000 per unit, and that makes about $3 million, 180 units. That's somewhere around there, isn't it? $3.6 million that place should have gone for. And I don't care what they did over there. I don't care. We could have done it up here ourselves. Now we don't get any taxes from it. They're free. Nobody gets anything out of it. I don't know if we get any sales tax out of them. Now, the one mayoral candidate at the debate the other night said that she would make sure that the ambulance would survive. Now, that only tells me one thing, that she's got nothing in mind but to raise the taxes and doesn't care how high it'll go. And I've said before here, does Syracuse have an ambulance? No. They go Metro. Does Fulton? No. Why should we? I don't care what kind of money you're making here. Get that place under control. I think you got the right candidate over there anyway. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Miles. Always a pleasure. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything to say? Yes, ma'am.
I'm here, Mayor, Councilman, thank you, here to try to save Jo-Ann Fabrics. I have talked to the, I'm in a standstill. I was in a shock to come. Thank you. I'm trying to.
Betty, for the record, could you give us your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My name is Betty Gray, Coordinator of the Neighborhood Watch. I'm here to save Jo-Ann Fabrics. I have talked to Senator Patty Ritchie's office. They've gotten back to me 4 times. And I talked to the Oswego, the Heart Oswego. I've talked to them, and I emailed them, and we've been chatting back and forth, or emailing each other. And through Senator Tresidder, yeah. Amy, I'm thinking of you right now. Sorry about that. Well, anyway, he called the executive director in county and said probably they're going to shut down Jo-Ann Fabrics because of business. Well, 2, if you stop and think about it, we had problems with the upper level of the Midtown Plaza for quite a few years. I can't give you the amount when, but it's been quite a while, so that doesn't help Jo-Ann Fabrics. And plus, tearing everything apart didn't help their business at all. So can the creditors, or the, what do I say, the owners please step up and think about that to keep our Jo-Ann Fabrics, or move it someplace else? The corporate should have known this in the first place, something like this would happen because of the Midtown Plaza being the way it was, the upper level, that it would be going down, as far as business-wise, going downhill. They had no parking. They could park underneath, but then when they started demolishing it, they couldn't park underneath, and plus I was scared to death to park underneath it. So any help we can get from the councilors, the mayor, I've talked to legislators too, and any help we can get, even if they move someplace else here in the city, be great, as long as it stays in the city of Oswego. We need Joann Fabrics to stay here. Otherwise, people in our city go to Clay. Okay, there goes the business again. We don't want that. We want to keep the business here, as you say, the councilors say, everybody says, keep our business here so we can lower taxes. And this is what we need to do. And so whatever you can do, we all appreciate it. Your help, whatever you can do. I want to thank you. And there's more that she's going to look into, Senator. Well, I talked to Mike, I'm sorry. But anyway, he's going to look into it more, and he's going to get back to me too, and I communicate with him too. And that's through Senator Patty Ritchie's office. Okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I wasn't really prepared. I was late. I apologize.
Nice seeing you again, Betty. It's been a while.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you. Well, if there's no other comments, then I will end the public session and begin the regular session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll. Here. He is excused. Here. 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 Thank you. Under the mayor's report, not too much. One thing that we have designated November the 1st as the Extra Mile Day, and I have issued a proclamation. I'd like to recognize all the volunteers in our community. Those are the ones who work for Project Bloom, the Renaissance Association, the Tree Stewards, the numerous committees we have. We have Planning Board, Zoning Board, Historical Review Committee, Promotion Tourism Advisory Board, Campus Community Revitalization Committees. These are the people who work hard to help our city grow and our communities to prosper and do it as volunteers. So I want to thank them all for what they do. And I'd like to read this proclamation. It's a brief one. So, whereas Oswego, New York is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Oswego, New York is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Oswego, New York is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who do go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Oswego, New York acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 500 extra mile cities in America, and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November the 1st, 2015. Now therefore, I, Thomas W. Gillen, Mayor of the City of Oswego, New York, do hereby proclaim November 1, 2015 to be Extra Mile Day, and I urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but also to acknowledge all those families who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. I'd also like to remind everyone that Halloween is this Saturday. Wish everyone is safe and a happy Halloween. And for all you drivers out there, be a little cautious. Some of these little kiddos are going to be out there in the dark. And just take time and enjoy the holiday. And hope nobody gets hurt. I have nothing else to add. Do the councilors have anything they'd like to say? Yes, Councilor Kaplowitz.
I'll make one comment, Your Honor, and that is I know it was mentioned earlier, Election Day is next Tuesday, and I certainly appreciate all the energy candidates have put into that election. And also there's quite a few signs that have gathered across our great city, and I'm hoping that sometime right after Election Day, perhaps all those candidates that have signs, take responsibility for those so we can make our city look like a city again.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other comments? All right. Well, then will clerk please call, I'm sorry, does anybody, that was it? Then we'll go, please call Resolution 430.
Resolution 434 would approve the minutes of the common council meeting held October 13th, 2015.
Councilor Van Buren, Councilor Walker. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 435.
Resolution 435 would approve the use of public space at the request of Jim Bell, owner of property located at 155 West 5th Street, in order to install a ramp.
Councilor Kaplowitz, Councilor Van Buren. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 436.
Resolution 436 would accept a monetary donation, life jackets, and smoke detectors from the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, Exelon Corporation, and Lowe's for the use by the fire department.
Councilor Walker, Councilor Barlow. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 437.
Resolution 437 would authorize the mayor to execute a one-year extension of the agreement with Mass Mutual Hartford Life for the City of Oswego Deferred Compensation Plan.
Councilor Van Buren, Councilor McLaughlin. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 438.
Resolution 438 would authorize a public hearing regarding proposed amendments to the Code of the City of Oswego, Chapter 126, Fire Prevention and Building Construction Ordinance, Section 126-11, Building Permits, and Section 126-13, Renewal.
Councilor Todd.
Move this item below item 446 to discuss it executive session.
Do I have a second to that? Sure. You're on.
But in any event, we have executive session item, and the item is that it's in an executive session. Impact on the discussion executive session passage of this resolution.
Second? Councilor Kaplowitz. Please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren? Yes. Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The motion to present this motion after the executive session passes 601.
Please call Resolution 439.
Resolution 439 would approve submission of standard exemptions for the Community Development Home Ownership Program grant.
Councilor Todd. Councilor Walker. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 440.
Resolution 440 would approve a budget amendment to pay the cost of the sewer main repair at East 10th and Albany Street.
Councilor Walker. Councilor McLaughlin. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 441.
Resolution 441 would approve attendance at the First Line Supervisory Training Program to be held January 4th through the 29th, 2016, and February 22nd through March 18th, 2016, in Fort Totten, New York, at the request of Jeffrey M. McCroby, Fire Chief.
Kaplowitz. Councilor Todd. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 442.
Resolution 442 would waive the rules of the Common Council to present resolution number 443 through 445 from the floor without committee consideration.
Councilor Capelitz, Councilor McLaughlin. Please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Capelitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 443.
Resolution 443 would approve the sale of property located at 108 East 6th Street.
Councilor Walker, Councilor Van Buren. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 444.
Resolution 444 would approve the use of public space at the request of the Oswego Renaissance Association in order to extend the time period for placement of signs.
Councilor Van Buren. Councilor McLaughlin. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Barlow?
Yes.
Councilor Van Buren?
Yes.
Councilor Kaplowitz?
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 445.
Resolution 445 would authorize the mayor to enter into a 5-year lease agreement with the Ontario Centre for the Performing Arts for their use of the McRobey Building for the years 2016 through 2020.
Councilor Van Buren, Councilor McLaughlin. Any discussion? Councilor Capelitz.
Yes, Your Honor, and this is for our council, and I know we had discussions about termination, and I see in number 9 of the contract, there is a termination clause that talks about 60 days written notice. I'm just assuming that covered everything that we had in the discussion relative to our concerns about, if the building gets leased or released or sold or some other provision that language takes care of that.
Counselor, I wasn't on duty the night of that discussion, so I can't speak from personal memory. This was drafted by Assistant City Attorney Tom Reynolds, so I can only presume that it does, but I can tell you from my own experience that if a contract is entered into to sell the building or to lease out the whole building, 60 days is probably for sure to sell the building. 60 days is plenty of time to terminate the lease with the tenant. To lease the building, we would have to make the lease agreement subject to that lease with the tenant until the 60 days is up.
Just to follow up, we had some discussion relative to the 5-year lease, but we could change that 5-year lease. Am I imagining that we had part of that discussion, and I'm just trying to recollect, we want to give them a longer lease, but if we had to change the length of that lease, we could also do that.
Councilor Van Buren.
Just from what I understand from the question, the termination clause is really the window that we were looking at. So the feasibility study that's being done, including that building, any changes of that as far as shortening the contract, that's the exit. So the idea was to give them a 5-year lease, to give them the length that they were looking to have, to do bookings farther out in the future so they can get better acts, knowing that we're actively pursuing a detailed analysis of our waterfront properties and the use may change. So the termination clause is really what covers us if we do have a change that crops up quickly.
Councilor Todd.
One of the other issues that was discussed was that the building is old, and it came to a situation where it was structurally unsound. We want to make sure we weren't held, that we had an L clause if we had to vacate that building. So like we had to tell the tenants that, nobody can go in this building until it's repaired, that we weren't on the hook at all for that space. We didn't have to, so we could get out of it.
Counselor, there's nothing in this lease agreement that provides for that, nor is there anything in the lease agreement for Harborfest, which is the only other lease agreement for that building. But in the event that a building is rendered unusable because of some sort of damage to the building, structural or whatever, then the tenants would have to move out of the building, and at that point, we would have to either release them from their lease, or we'd have to negotiate something with the tenants. But to answer your question, there's nothing in either lease to affect that.
Any other questions? Comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Barlow?
Yes.
Counselor Van Buren?
Yes.
Counselor Capelitz?
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Counselor Todd? The resolution passes 601.
Please call Resolution 446.
Resolution 446 is a motion to move to executive session to discuss the proposed pending or current litigation and the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, and this is regards to 309 West Seneca Street.
Counselor Capelitz. Counselor Todd. Please call the roll.
Counselor Walker? Yes. Counselor Barlow?
Yes.
Counselor Van Buren?
Yes.
Counselor Capelitz?
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Counselor Todd? Resolution passes 601.
We'll now go into executive session. All right.
It's cold in here. Thank you.
How are you?
Okay, over here. A motion to come out of executive session. Mr. Todd. Hold on.
No, just showing.
Go ahead. Okay. Now we have resolution.
We do. Resolution 438 would authorize a public hearing regarding proposed amendments to the Code of the City of Oswego, Chapter 126, Fire Prevention and Building Construction Ordinance, Section 126-11, Building Permits, and Section 126-13, Renewal.
Can I make say a word? Make a motion?
Wait,
Well,
wait,
we
wait,
had
wait.
we need a motion first. Oh. Okay.
I'll make a motion. John will second.
Okay.
You're going to go with discussion.
Okay. Further discussion. Counselor Capelitz.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I think it's important for us to get this right, and in order to do so, and to save some money down the road, because if this resolution isn't drafted in a way that accomplishes what we want, we're going to be back revisiting this, and it's going to cost us several $1,000s every time we want to redo the code book. So in that vein, I would offer a motion to table and bring it back to the committee bring it back next week to committee and discuss it.
Counselor Todd. Call the roll.
Okay, this is a vote to
Motion
table.
to table.
Counselor Walker? Yes. Counselor Barlow? Yes. Counselor Van Buren? Yes. Counselor Capelitz?
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Counselor Todd? Yes. The motion to table passes 601.
Second, Counselor Van Buren. Please call the roll.
Counselor Walker? Yes. Counselor Barlow? Yes. Counselor Van Buren? Yes. Counselor Capelitz?
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Counselor Todd? Yes. The motion passes 601.
Meeting adjourned.
Who was it, Todd and who?